Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're digging into Thomas Jefferson. Alright, let's read about him. A lot of people talk about him, but they don't know anything besides two things. So let's continue. Jefferson wrote Clark, "When you transgress and enterprise deeds which will hand down your name with honor to future times, you made yourself a mark for malice, an envy to shoot at." A mark for malice? Envy to shoot at. Of these, there is enough both in and out of office. That's true, right? Even if you're not a politician, people are going to shoot them arrows. Anguish was the price a public man paid for adulation. Look at that. Since his governorship, Jefferson understood that in a way he never had before. He also knew that pressing ahead was the only way to leave the past behind. And this is very true. Just gotta keep going, right? There was no other way to do it, unless one chose to retire forever, which could make things worse. For then there was no opportunity to leave marks large enough to overshadow the marks of failure. Well, that's a paradox, huh? That is definitely one where, do you go up in the mountains and leave it be? Or do you make it outshine with virtuous glory of success? Makes you wonder. Given that adversity itself was an intrinsic element of the political life Jefferson had chosen, the test of such a life came when one had chose which path to take in adversary's wake. So which path are you going to take when you're being tested? The personal and political miseries of 1781 and 1782, the invasions by the British. Okay, so let's note these dates: 1781, 72. British are here. The aspersions on his character and the death of his wife might well have sent lesser men back to their plantations in bitterness and an anger at the injustice of it all. Not Jefferson. He chose advance over retreat. So he's going on, man. He's not going to give up. He's not just going to retire. He's lost children. He's lost his wife. He, had some damage done to his public dignity because of his, what others perceived as an action. Some were upset. But he's going to say, you know what? The British are coming and we got to do what we got to do. When news of Paddy Jefferson's death reached Philadelphia, Jefferson's allies in Congress asked him to serve on the Paris Peace Commission in France, tasked with crafting the post-war order. Okay, so people in Philly, they're like, hey Jefferson, we really need you to go to France and be part of the Peace Commission. Help us enact this and design the post-war order. Let's see. Jefferson accepted with alacrity. I had 2 months before lost the cherished companion of my life, and whose affections unabated on both sides, I have lived the last 10 years in unquenched happiness. Jefferson recalled, with the public interests, the state of mind concurred in recommending the change of scene proposed. So he's like, hey, the public interests aligned with me also wanting to change my scenery due to the recent pain, time for new horizons, time for a refresher and change of scenery and all that. Tuesday, November 26, 1782, proved something of a turning point in Jefferson's life. What happened? Okay, visiting Amped Hill, the plantation on the James River near Falling Creek that belonged to Archibald Carey, a Revolutionary colleague, Jefferson was overseeing family inoculations for smallpox. Okay, so Jefferson, he believed in vaccines. Right? Wow, smallpox. That's horrible. When he fully re-engaged with his correspondence, and with the world beyond one delineated by his grief of the previous 3 months. So, Archibald Carey. Didn't know who that guy was. Heard the name Archibald before, but it sounds very English. In a draft message accepting his appointment as envoy to France, Jefferson said that he intended to pursue the object of my mission with integrity and impartial regard to the good of the whole States. So pursuing what been sent there to do in France with impartial regard. His emphasis on his broader vision and global portfolio served, he may hope, to turn the page on the last unhappy chapter in his political career. He was, in any event, eager to get started. "I shall lose no moment," Jefferson said, "preparing for my departure." So I shall lose no moment, so he's ready. He's like, yeah, I can go. I'm out of here. In a letter to the Marquis du Château, he returned to the grim events of that autumn. He had not replied to earlier correspondence, Jefferson said, for he was only now a little emerging from that stupor of mind. Stupor of mind. You can get in a stupor of mind when you have grief, for sure, which had rendered me as dead to the world as she who was lost occasioned it. Okay, so he writes very deeply, doesn't he? You can tell he's very well read. The stupor of mind which had rendered me as dead. So he was such in a fog that he just felt dead inside. It was just like he wasn't even who he was. He's like a walking dead. He's loved his wife that much. He left his two younger children, Polly and Lucy, with Francis and Elizabeth Epps, married relatives of his late wife. Okay, so they still got the family unit together at least. The eldest, Patsy, was to travel with her father to his new assignment in Paris. From Monticello on Sunday, December 15th, 1782, Jefferson published a notice in the Virginia Gazette announcing that he had confided the care of his affairs to his brother-in-law, Francis Epps of Chesterfield. Francis Epps of Chesterfield. Imagine if we had to introduce each other like that still. And to his friend Nicholas Lewis of Albemarle County. Jefferson and Patsy left home 4 days later. He did not know when they would return. Okay, so he published a notice in the Gazette. That's interesting. Like, why would you want to publish it in the Gazette? It's like so that everybody in the town knows, so they don't get suspicious of like people dealing with your affairs. Or it's like, oh, well, I leave, so-and-so is going to be in charge. Very different way of delegating, right? I don't think people do that anymore. I don't think politicians publish like who's going to be in charge while they're out. They just do it and people go on with their lives. But here in this time period, in the 1700s, obviously they wanted to know probably more what was going on. Jefferson and Patsy left home. Jefferson was eager to get away. The farther the better, but neither the British nor the weather was cooperating. He and Patsy expected to sail from Baltimore with the French minister on the frigate Romulus. Oh, cool, they're gonna go on this ship called Romulus. That's the brother of Remus, the twin brother, one of the founders of Rome. The myth. They were the ones, the two baby twins who drank milk from a she-wolf. In case you didn't know. The ship was frozen and a few miles below Baltimore. So Jefferson remained in Philadelphia, reacquainting himself with the national political scene he had left 6 years before. What do they mean frozen? The water he just couldn't get through? Too much little ice pockets on the river? What? He and his daughter took rooms at Mary House establishment at 5th and Market. I wonder if that place is still there today. That'd be kind of a nerdy thing to go look at. Just like with Poe, you can go in Philadelphia and see where he used to live. I wonder if you can go to these historic sites and see where the founding fathers visited. That'd be quite cool. Mrs. House boarding house. That's funny. Because her name is Mary House. Get it? But a boarding house is like a hotel. It's funny. Offered charming political company, including Madison, and provided the grieving Jefferson with what he had always needed, and since his friendship with his sister Jane had always had, a connection with a sympathetic woman, in this case, Eliza House Trist. Okay, Eliza. That's a unique name. The daughter of his landlady. Uh-oh. Stay away from the landlord's daughter. Eliza Trist came to play a sustaining role in Jefferson's life, and a long-time admiring friend, whatever, she probably wants to marry him. At Mrs. Howe's lodgings, Jefferson played a supporting role in the domestic drama of the 32-year-old Madison's wooing of 15-year-old Catherine Kitty Floyd. Say what? No way. What? He was 32? Holy moly, guacamole. That was just wow. Well, I mean, my grandma she had her first child when she was 14. What a different world back then. The beautiful daughter of the New York Congressman William Floyd, Kitty won the solemn Madison's heart. Jefferson joined what he called the household revelry as it charted the romance. Wow. Dude. By today's standards, Jefferson, he would have been locked up. He would have been put in prison. Whoa.